So beginning with scene 8 now. Roxanne reveals that the whole reason she came, braved the Spanish lines, did not wait at home for him, was because of the letters. Very significant phrase on page 146 in my text, or in my book here. So how many there were, how beautiful they were. It was the letters that caused her, sitting at home, to fall in love with Christian on a whole new level. She says, your letters, referring to the letters, reiterating and enlarging your love like your voice of that evening, so tender, caressing, I became your own indeed. Love on a whole new level, compelling, sincere, profound. She repents that her love was at first shallow, based only on his looks, but now she says, I love you for your soul alone. Could be absolutely beautiful words in a romantic relationship, but not in this case. Why? Christian, listening to these words, is horrified. Because why? He realizes that everything she is responding to, all the depths of love that she is professing, that are much larger than everything that had gone before, is based on something he never said that night in the garden, and he never wrote. Her love for Christian, she is saying, is profoundly deep because of the words of his soul, words he has never said. So he feels that his love has now just been totally robbed from him, because he never earned it, because it isn't truly him she loves, it's Cyrano she loves, because that's where all the words came from. Just she doesn't know the name behind the love. This is tragic. This is a tragic moment. I feel Roxanne is ignorant right now, so somebody has played a false life on her. Do you see what I'm saying by that? All the expression, she thinks she is experiencing is not based on reality now. It is based in some sense on a reality, but not the one she understands. So that's sad. It's sad for Cyrano because he has built her love up, but not for him, at least not aware that it's for him. But it's most tragic of all for Christian, because Christian loves her and has thought he was earning in all this scheme a love in return, but instead he has not. It's been the opposite. He has lost the love. He recognizes it's false. She doesn't love him, especially when she says, no longer for your words. Were you if you were ugly, it would not matter at all to me. He has felt like his beauty, so to speak, her beauty attracted him to her. His beauty attracted her to him originally. He felt on that he could build something. But instead somebody came in, almost like a thief over the wall, came in and stole what he had the potential of building by creating a very deep love in another direction. This is very tragic. The more you think about it, the sadder it becomes. Well, Christian is very alarmed. He realizes that her love is really for Cyrano, but she does not know it. He says, he leans into it a little. Even if I were offensively ugly? Yes. And he is crushed. His love just crashes. And like I said, I put in my notes how tragic for all of them. So let's go ahead and get this down. One of the things we see here in this scene, scene 8 is a powerful scene, and one of the things you see is the theme that is never overtly referred to but always there, and the importance of, well, it is referred to on another dimension. You might think of this. Really, it's referred to in the whole theme of panache. Okay, but this underscores it on a different level than that way it's carried by Cyrano's own consciousness. This is the theme of integrity. They're tightly woven together. It's so critical that we are exactly who we claim to be. And we quit, and we do not allow ourselves to become play actors. Some people wear their whole life upon a stage, trying to please audience A, then audience B, then audience C, different groups in their lives. We do not want to be caught by that. It steals your life away. Okay? So Cyrano understands. He wants to be true to himself, and yet in the deepest, perhaps the most deepest area of experiential life, in romantic love, he has ceased to be true to himself. He has played a part, and now this is crashing. All three of them crash on this rock. So this is very, 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 very sad. And I think it stands as a strong warning to the reader. Do not get caught in this kind of game. I would say in life, this game is more common than you realize. Okay, scene 9. It is you she loves, and you love her. Christian's pathetic, tragic confrontation with Cyrano. That you must tell her what you have done, and that this is used. And let her choose between us. You must tell her everything. So that's Christian's courage, because he lays his own possibility for love and happiness on the altar here. But what other choice would he have? Could he be satisfied with her going through life, loving him, thinking he's somebody else? And how would they carry on when they return from the battlefield? Or could they possibly do? The only thing they could do is come clean from all of this and start again. So he decides to do that now. Let her choose between us. They each regard the other's gifts and do not wish to stand in the other's way. And so in this thing, you see a kindness and really a friendship that has developed, and an admiration that has developed over these years between Cyrano, or months, whatever, and Cyrano and Christian. Cyrano admires Christian's beauty, his candor, his simple forthrightness. He is who he is, okay, except for in this relationship. But he admires his beauty, and Christian admires Cyrano's words and wit and ability to articulate the depths of his feelings. But Christian concludes this way: I will be loved for my sole self or not at all. Very important quotes here. Moving on to scene 10, Cyrano confirms with Roxanne that she would love him even if he were grotesquely ugly. Okay, so after Christian tells about his conversation with Roxanne and makes Cyrano go to talk to her, Cyrano can hardly believe it. She couldn't possibly say those words. Nobody would love a person if they were ugly, really ugly, like me, ugly. And so she gets him to talk about, Roxanne, what did you say to Christian? He's very upset when Roxanne, and he questions it until he's convinced she really means it. For better, for worse. Right? That's the wedding vow, isn't it? For better, for worse. For beautiful, for ugly. What does it seek? This vow, so famous in the wedding. What does it seek? To cause us to recognize. Now, Cyrano is, first off, there's two things we recognize. Okay, we recognize about love. One, it is internal. It's primarily internal. You love another spirit. This play pushes on that. It's not primarily physical and external. Or if it is, it should not be. If that's step one, the very, very beginnings of an affection, it cannot stay there. It has to be based on something much more substantial than that. The second thing, which the vow leans into, is don't you realize that can be taken away? I had a good friend. Some of you perhaps know this story. I had a very close friend, one of my roommates in college. They'd been married 2 years, less than 2 years. She was pregnant with their first baby, and she had a severe car accident. And it did not maim her face, but it certainly severely crippled her. She was paraplegic from I think it was the end of August till April. She couldn't even move the upper half of her body. Or the lower half, I'm sorry. And she had to, even with her arms, she had to reteach herself to move her arms, and so really almost quadriplegic, just could speak and have facial expression, but she had to reteach all her muscles to be able to feed herself, to be able to grab things, to be able to write again. All those things walked with severe limitations, was in a wheelchair for quite a while, and then walked with severe limitations for years that kept slowly improving. And the doctors considered it miraculous. It was an amazing story of God's grace, and she's a wonderful, godly Christian woman who actually has had many opportunities to share her testimony and her faith all over the country. But in the meanwhile, she lost her marriage. Now, I was good friends with her husband too. I know them. We knew them very well. In fact, we lived next door to each other even after we were married. And but it's hard, isn't it? When this wasn't what he, quote unquote, signed up for. To have a wife that needed nursing 24/7 as a young bride. I mean, young. 1 year and a half into their marriage. It was sad for both of them. It was hard for both of them. But isn't that what it says? For better or worse. Can you guarantee that the person you married externally is always going to be that person? No. Think of old people. One often gets very sick and needs nursing towards the end of life. Sometimes it seems like it's easier to accept towards the end, but sometimes it happens at the beginning. We had very close family friends. World War II, our best family friends growing up, Edie and Jack LaLanne, and he was a aircraft pilot, or a pilot on an aircraft carrier is what I'm really trying to say there. And just weeks after they were married, he crashed on that aircraft carrier and was burned. 90% of his body was burned. Skin graft after skin graft. A long time. I don't know how many months or maybe even a year or two of skin grafts to repair him physically, and then going back for skin grafts over and over. Permanent pain all his life that he suffered with, and radical shift. What am I saying? You marry a person, and this body of ours could shift. Okay, the beauty can fade. One of my very favorite love songs. Believe me, if all these endearing young charms, which I gaze on so fondly today, were to fade with the morrow and flee from my arms like fairy gifts fading away, you would still be adored as this moment you are, though your loveliness fades as it will, or as it may, right? And surrounding each ruin, the wish of my heart will entwine itself verdantly still. As it will, I guess, because it's got to rhyme with still. But Powerful words. Okay? Powerful words. What are they saying? We don't remain the same physically. We hopefully grow, mature, deepen, enrich, become more and more beautiful internally. But who we are on the surface will fade with time. So you have to beware, okay, what it is you're loving, right? Well, anyway, all this goes back. So this is the kind of what's going on here in scene 10, this recognition, Cyrano. Could you really love me for my internal? And my comments, you better love somebody for what's inside, because the external is very fleeting. Okay. Well, Lebret comes in and whispers to Cyrano that Christian has been shot. So he's right in this time where he's getting ready to make that full confession that Christian has required of him. He actually is beginning to maybe even hope that, gee, maybe she really could love me. And Christian has said, let's get it straight. Let's figure out who loves who. And go for it, okay? And he's willing to lay it all down and let her make this choice again, this time in honesty, understanding who is really who. Okay? But just as Cyrano is beginning to brave up to this full confession, Lebret comes in and says, Christian has been shot. And Cyrano says, it is finished. My lips are sealed forever. Why would he choose that? Why would he say that? You have some thoughts there? What would you have done? We could sure understand, I think, why he would say that. Because now Cyrano's dead. How could she choose? How could she choose? Would he rob her of her love for Christian? Did I say Cyrano was dead? Christian's dead. What would Cyrano do now? It's like the opportunity to come clean and be honest is there for a window of time. And then it might go away. It might get too complex. Or should he have pressed through and been honest forever, or honest with her? Or should he seal? He says, my lips are sealed forever. Which is the better choice? What do you think? Which would you argue for? Well, Cyrano comes over to the dying Christian, whispers in his ear, you are still the one she loves. You can kind of see saying that to Christian, so he could smile, have a sweet memory there as he's dying. Okay? He says, in addition, he says, you are an exceptional being. And Christian dies. The last words. My question is this, is Christian an exceptional being? What would you say? Could you support that from the book? In what ways would you say he was an exceptional being if you want to take that position? Or would you say he's not an exceptional being? Let me ask you something. How about Cyrano? Is Cyrano an exceptional being? In what ways? In what ways not? How about Roxanne? What do you think? These are dynamic characters, aren't they? They're changing before our eyes. Now, time has passed, but they are definitely changing characters. I write this statement in my notes. We grow in love from one degree of glory to another. It's taken out of the scripture. We're growing into the image of Christ from one degree of glory to another. But it is true of us. It is true of all of us on this plane that we grow in love, we grow in understanding from one degree of glory to another. Now, some people can indeed almost be static themselves. How would I do that? How would I become a static person if I'm never growing, if I'm never learning, if I'm never changing, if I'm never allowing the lessons of life to press on me, giving me greater understanding, then I could be a static character in real life. I could be basically somebody who stumbles through circumstance after circumstance, event after event, and never allow it to shift me. Never grow from it. You look at some people around and you wonder, are you ever learning? Are you ever learning from your life experiences? And other people obviously learn and obviously shift and change. Now, Cyrano is watching Roxanne cry over the dead body of Christian, and he makes this comment aside to himself. He says, "She mourns my death in his." What does that mean? Could you explain that statement? You might be asked to. Put that on your notes. We'll go ahead and write them out. But think about that. What does it mean? She mourns my death in his. It's a good statement, and I'm not going to tell you what it means. I'm going to let you do the thinking for that. Cyrano asks de Guiche to take her from the field. They must hold a little longer. If they can hold a little longer, then the French reinforcements are coming. Okay. As they are being slaughtered, the Spanish officer takes off his hat in honor to them because they're fighting so bravely down to the last few men. Panache. Right? Okay. He's sweeping that same visual image we get throughout this play. The musketeer hat swept to the ground. Okay. The knight's helmet taken off. He says, "What are these men so determined all to be killed?" Great line. Okay, huge scene here. So a lot for you to think about in this scene if you want to really master an understanding of this play. So let me write a few of these key quotes down. So this concludes Act 4 with our last tape. Next week on this, Lesson 30, we will conclude the play with Act 5. So this is the end of Act 4, very key act. So now that we've talked about it at length, I would almost suggest to you that you even go back and take the time. The acts themselves are not very long. Take the time to go ahead and reread it. And hopefully you're understanding the impact and significance of this again. I would say that Edmond Rostand is a very succinct writer because he, as we pointed out early in the lectures, he has a way of putting a lot of depth and weight in really short scenes and short phrases. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying this play as much as I am. It is a favorite of mine, and you guys have a wonderful week. God bless you.